Okay, so let's ignore the fact that I haven't uploaded and just talk about this tight-ass game that just came out called Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon. That cool? Alright, cool. Now, to be honest, I wasn't even aware of this game's existence until about, 2 weeks ago. It's basically a side game to a bigger game that was kickstarted a few years back called Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. That game is essentially set to be a spiritual successor to the Castlevania series, more specifically, the explorative ones, like Symphony of the Night. While that's all well and good for Metroidvania fans, I wasn't exactly excited as I am not really a fan of those games and much prefer the more linear, straight platforming Castlevania games. And that's where Curse of the Moon comes in. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon is directly inspired by the classic Castlevania games, more specifically, Castlevania 3. Now, going into this, I was a little concerned because of the dev team. Inti Creates made this one, and let's just say I have a very awkward relationship with how I feel about them. They are, in my opinion, extremely hit or miss. While they're responsible for a lot of amazing games, including Mega Man 9 and 10 and Blaster Master Zero, they're also responsible for garbage such as Mighty No. 9 and Mighty Gunvolt and Mighty Gunvolt Burst. Speaking of, I've heard so many people defend the latter two games, but I'm sorry, those games are very not good. I won't go into detail in this video because I don't want to digress too much, but just know they led me to be weary about releases from this company. That being said though, they did a very good job with this one. While I wouldn't say this game necessarily has an identity of its own, they did a really good job of nailing, well, Castlevania. I would normally talk about the story a bit, but honestly I was too wrapped up in the gameplay to really pay too much attention to it, especially because of just how much like Castlevania it really is. All you really need to know is, instead of monsters and Dracula, it's demons. Go crazy. Like Castlevania 3, you rescue new playable characters along the way to take with you on your journey. Unlike Castlevania 3 though, these characters don't only traverse the same linear path. Having these characters and their abilities open up different paths in the game. I can't say exactly where they lead because on my first playthrough I chose to stay on the linear path, but there were a few instances where using these characters led me to secrets, one-ups, and items. Now the sprite art is, well, look at it. It's Castlevania. Everything stylistically screams Castlevania in this, save for the bosses, which in my opinion are much more interesting and grand. Instead of fighting tiny mummy sprites that are the same size as the player, you end up facing off against these giant bosses with brilliant designs. The music is great too. It's pretty much exactly what I expected. I won't go into much detail, but if you played classic Castlevania, you know what you're in for. And some of the music's gonna be playing in the background of this video anyway, so just pay attention. My only real gripes that I would probably have to do with some of the level design and the overall length. Don't get me wrong, the levels aren't bad by any means, but I do feel like they played it safe with this one. The levels are fun and the enemy placement keeps the game interesting, albeit on the easier side when compared to the classic Castlevania games, but it definitely could have done a lot more with it, and I do feel like it was lacking in that regard. All the levels were great, but it's definitely something that could be expanded upon in a sequel. Aside from that though, the game's overall length is a bit short. This is, however, padded out a bit with the branching paths and new harder game modes that open up once the game is completed once, but I feel like the main experience could have added, just a bit. That being said though, this game scratched the classic Castlevania itch I've been having for years upon years. If I'm being honest, this game does rip most things directly from Castlevania, but at this point I don't even care. I didn't care about a new IP. I just wanted some new Castlevania, and this game, at least for the most part, delivered. It really was a pleasant surprise considering the fact that I had literally no idea about it until a week before its release. It's not even expensive either. I got it for $10 on the eShop, but it's available on pretty much whatever other platform you may want it for. Look, if you're a fan of Castlevania, just go buy it. It's the best $10 I've spent in a while. Also, I'm just gonna, fuck it, I'll address the elephant in the room. I've been going through, personal shit, so that's why I haven't been able to upload, but videos should be resuming. That's kind of why I'm doing this, so I gotta get myself back into fucking gear. So, sorry for the hiatus. It wasn't intentional, but it happened. I'm gonna work on stuff, okay? Bye.